Today's show is sponsored by Systems for Your Sanity, the course. The self-paced course is perfect for those of us ready to systematize and streamline everyday tasks in our homes. If you're looking for the perfect holiday gift for the friend that has everything, then head over to systemsforyoursanity.com and use the code PODCAST for 10% off of registration. Hey friends, thank you for taking the time out of your day to hang with me. It has been a roller coaster these last few days, and so today I especially could use all of your love and support. And if you've been hanging with me for a bit, you already know a part of my story and how much my late mother means to me. And so I speak of her in the present tense because there are days, most days, that I feel her spirit, I feel her presence, her love, and her care throughout the day. And today, November 18th, 2020, marks 10 years since my mother departed this earth. My mom was not only the best mother ever, but she was also my confidant, she was my security blanket, and she was my best friend. My mother was a proud leader in her job. She was a proud mother to not only my siblings and I, but also the dozens and dozens of children that she fostered. She was the neighborhood mama that always had the door open, and she always had the best advice. We shared her with so many people that adored her shining light. And 10 years ago today, my world as I had known it would be forever changed. Because 10 years ago, I felt like I went from being a young lady to a full-on grown woman. Because when you lose your mother or any parent that you are close to, you are instantly forced to step up. So losing my mother meant that I did not have that safety net, and I didn't have that hand holding anymore that I was accustomed to. My mom's passing from a brief battle of breast cancer is something that I think about every single day. It's been 3,650 days that I have consistently thought about my mom and the impact that she has made. It's been 3,650 days of navigating life without what was once my compass. It's been 3,650 days of me growing up and leaning into the woman that I hope makes her so proud. In episode 9 of this podcast, I shared a bit on the journey of what it was like learning about my mother's cancer and how the 8 months afterwards unfolded. And in that episode, I poured my heart out. And I can say that it was very much therapeutic, and I had just gotten so much feedback from you guys, a lot of you who had gone through similar situations, and those of you that could relate. And it's crazy to me that even after 10 years, I am still learning things about my mother, what she endured, and how the events unfolded in the woman that she was to everyone else as well. And to say that I am honored to be her namesake would be an understatement. And as the anniversary of my mother's passing started to approach, and with my dad currently hospitalized, which is a whole nother podcast episode that I'll have to chat about later, I've been doing some reflecting. And if you don't mind, I want to chat with you about 6 life lessons that I have learned since November 18th, 2010, which is 10 years ago to the day. Lessons that have shaped the woman that I am today. The wife that I am, the mom, the friend, the sister, and so much more. Simple lessons and experiences that I am learning are critical if I plan to navigate this thing called life unapologetically and with grace. Lessons that I hope my children will learn from as they grow into adulthood as well. So let's dive into it. Lesson number 1, which is something I speak of often. People are in your life for a reason or a season. When I look back at the people that were constants in my life, in my mother's life 10 years ago, I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by the people who still check in on myself and my siblings. People that consider us family. People that not only love me, but my children and the grandchildren that my mother never got to meet. I'm forever grateful for those that continue to love us and support us from afar. My aunties and my uncles, which were my mom's very best friends, who just continue to love us, and they know the importance of supporting the children that sometimes feel like they are lost, children like me at times. My mother's true, genuine friends are people I consider family. And the crazy thing is, watching people drift away has also been very interesting, to say the least. There are people that I would have never thought would be non-existent at this point. And those people, I realize now, 10 years later, were in our lives during a particular season, and they were just attached to us through my mother. And once she was no longer here, neither were they. And as I have matured, I have learned to accept and understand that not everyone placed in my life is meant to be in my life until the end of time. And that is okay. They have served their purpose and have taught me lessons that have then in turn shaped me into the person that I am today. And so for that, I thank them. I thank those family members and former friends for providing me with lessons about letting go and being okay, sincerely okay, when people no longer serve a purpose or place in my life. Lessons that I will pass on to my babies, seasons and reasons, and being okay that not everything is going to be same, simple, every single day. So lesson number 2 is all about grief. Grief is something that I have learned in the past 10 years is something that may never go away. Before my mother passed away, I had never been impacted by cancer, the effects of the awful disease on the patient, on the family members, the caretakers, nor at that time had I experienced such heavy loss. Thus, I had no idea how much I would still, to this day, feel impacted by my mother's tremendous loss. And I can honestly say that about a year after my mother passed away, I was finally forced to face grief head on. And I've talked about this before on the show. I've done shows on grief. So definitely, if you haven't heard those yet, check them out, because grief is something that I feel like people don't talk about enough, but we all are going to have to go through grief and loss at some point. And so when the year came, about a year after my mother passed away, by that point, her affairs were in order because I made sure everything was tied up and sealed and just closed, and so that nothing was left undone when she passed. People, a year later, they return to their regular lives and everything just goes back to what it was. And so the year came after I had done all the things and stepped up as the eldest child. And then I realized I was left with a void. Even though I had a newborn baby, a husband and siblings and people around me, friends that loved and supported me, I still felt a void. A void that I later learned would never be able to be filled. Something I didn't think about. You think that there are other things going on, and so you should be busy and you should be fine. But there's always going to be a void. That is a lesson that I learned, and I realize now, 10 years later, that it's okay, because there's no way anyone or anything can fill the void or step in and try to even fill the shoes that once belonged to my mother, anyone's mother. You only get one mother. I have learned the importance of leaning on the people and things that bring me joy. Things that may also remind me of the good times and the amazing woman that was my mother. And let me just share this cautionary tale. If you don't deal with loss and face it head on, you will never be able to blossom and step into your purpose, because grief will hold you back. Living and hiding in grief will not allow you to be the person and show up in the way that you are supposed to show up. Loss doesn't always come in the form of a person expiring either. Loss may also come in the form of a job, which I know thousands of people are experiencing right now in this pandemic that we're living in. Loss may come in the form of a romantic relationship. Loss may come in the form of a friendship or a partnership. Loss in various forms can hurt, can cut deep. But until you deal with that loss, it will forever be something weighing you down, preventing you from soaring and feeling the weight of the world lifted off of you. I just want to tell someone's listening that is dealing with some type of loss or grief, just to deal with it. Because once you deal with it, I promise you it gets better. And for me, I dealt with grief by seeing a therapist, which I've talked about on the show here as well, along with doing other good and bad things to try to get through that most difficult time. I was able to bring healing and accepting through loving on my newborn baby at the time, by leaning on my friends, as well as my ridiculously amazing and supportive husband, and above all else, God. Which brings me to my next lesson. Lesson number 3, which is all about the importance of being anchored. Not all of you listening are BFFs with God, Jesus, and Jehovah, or any of that. And that is totally fine by me. Love who you love, all of that. However, whoever you consider to be your higher power, or whatever you feel helps keep you going, just stay anchored in that. My faith over the past 10 years has been tested on so many levels. I've learned that there are always going to be situations that are going to come up that are going to make me feel inadequate. Situations that are going to make me feel less than, or that I cannot achieve something that I have set out to do. There are going to be situations that make me feel fearful instead of faithful. But what I know for sure is that I have gone through some hard, some really, really tough times. But I also know that I'm still standing. I'm still thriving. I'm still doing the work that I love. I'm still serving. I'm still surrounded by my amazing family and close circle of friends that have my back. I am anchored by love and faith. And I want to ask you, what keeps you anchored? What allows you to show up each day and keep pushing through? Think about the question. Think about what keeps you anchored and what allows you to keep pushing through. And I want you to DM me on Instagram at Coach for Creatives, or email me hello@coachingforcreatives.co, because I just want to hear, what is it that keeps you anchored, keeps you centered, keeps you focused, keeps you zen? My testimony is that only by God's grace and his unchanging hand am I able to show up, serve, love, lead, and grow. Lesson number 4. It is okay to stumble as long as you get up and you keep going. And if you're familiar with the Enneagram, I am a type 1. And if you're not familiar with the Enneagram, then check out episode 43 of this podcast, where guest expert Sarah Jane Case, she schools us on the various Enneagram types 1 through 9. And so your girl over here, I am a type 1, which in a nutshell means that I am always striving to improve. I want to improve things, but I'm also terrified of making mistakes. And according to the Enneagram Institute, being a 1 means that I am well organized, orderly, and I just want to maintain a high standard, but I can also be very critical of myself, and I am what is considered a perfectionist. And 1s, we typically have problems with resentment and impatience, but at our best, we are wise, discerning, realistic, and noble. We can be morally heroic, and that's a lot. It's a lot of things that you put on your shoulders as a 1, and it means that we also try to stay focused, and again, we just want to do things perfectly. We have high standards, and we can easily be exhausted, and I'm learning that I'm not always going to do things right 100% of the time. So yes, it's hard being a 1, but I also feel like those are the characteristics that I got from my mother, because she was hardworking, she was driven, and she very much just wanted to make sure we were well and taken care of. And I'm finding that I am the exact same way. I'm learning also, as I said, that it's okay to stumble, that it may take some time and a few tries to get things accomplished. And I'm also learning that, especially paired with my fibromyalgia that I deal with on a daily basis, that I'm not always going to get things done when I want to get it done, how I want to get it done. And thus, this is where grace comes in. This is where you have to surrender and grant yourself grace and keep going, keep pushing, and keep showing up. The reason I have literal t-shirts available in my shop, shopwellrounded.com, with our mantra, grace, passion, purpose on it, is because I wanted a physical reminder of what it means to be purposefully walking in your purpose, with grace being sprinkled in there. I will fall, but I won't fail, which I feel like should be a whole nother shirt. All right, so lesson number 5. Lesson number 5 is you are allowed to pivot whenever things don't seem right or settled. Whenever you need a change of scenery, you can pivot. You may pivot when you know in your hearts of hearts that you are not where you are intended to be. Life is too short to be miserable. Life is too short to be living someone else's dream for your life. Life is too short to not live fully. A question for you, friend, is I want you to stop and really think about this one. Are you living or existing? My mother lived, y'all. She lived a full life of abundance and love. Wherever she went, she brought the joy, she brought the party, and she brought her biggest smile. Can you say that about yourself? And I want you to reflect on your answer. And I want you to think, does this mean now that you may need to pivot and lean into your purpose because you don't show up joyful? You don't show up to that job with a smile. You don't show up to that meeting excited to do the work. You're going through the motions. And if all were said and done today, would it be well with your soul that you did what you know you've been called to do? Choose today to shift and soar into your purpose because you only get to do it once. So we have to show up and just do. Lastly, lesson number 6 is all about forgiveness. Something that I will have to admit that I am working on. There are people that I know I need to forgive. People that I have felt hurt by. People that I feel haven't shown up for me in the way that I feel that I deserve. People that have done me wrong with unexplainable reasons. People who mean well, but just haven't seen the depths of their actions. My mother was a forgiving person. Honestly, I felt she was too forgiving. But remember how I said just a few minutes ago that she also brought joy? My mother didn't sweat the small things. She didn't let little things or little people get under her skin. She didn't let things fester and issues get too far beyond repair. I am a work in progress. I am not my mother. I am Jamira, not Myra. I am hopeful, though, that I can forgive, or better yet, come to accept people for who they are, just like she did. Because the reality of it is this: some people will never meet the expectations that we have internally set for them. Some folks will always fall short and miss the mark. The real question is, are you willing and able to accept them, faults and all, just like my mama did? That's something that I will work on as I continue to grow into the full definition of Jamira and what I am placed here on earth to do and what I'm placed here to be. I could go on and on about life lessons learned. I could speak for days and days about my incredible, phenomenal, rare gem of a mother. But I will leave you with this. Decide how you will finish out this year, this crazy, crazy, one hell of a year. Decide how you will show up in a new season. Decide how you will spend your time. Decide who deserves to be in your space, because you only get one life, friend. And I want you to live it well. And so tonight, I am off to celebrate my mother's life and legacy with my 3 siblings. We will be chowing down on Mexican paired with my signature margaritas. And we are going to toast to the woman that we love and miss so deeply. We will celebrate our mama, and we will celebrate how far we've come as a unit and how close we remain as her legacy and as her legacy lives in us. So pray for our comfort, our continued healing, and our closeness, which is so important to me. And to my mom, Mommy, we love you. We miss you. We hope we are making you proud. And until next time, friends, stay safe, stay positive, and continue to live. Bye, friend.